Okay, hello. Today is August 3rd and it is Pro Tips Wednesday. Okay, I had to wait until after 5 times. So, in the event that something is said that little kids should not be hearing, guess what? It won't be said because it's late. Okay, so it's after 5. Now, here's some pro tips that I put together so that you can, I don't know, look at and sleep and think about it while you're dreaming. Just think about it. Okay, so here we have some ideas. Okay, picking just one topic of psychology is very difficult for me to focus on because um, I'm passionate about numerous things, such as technology with computers, the human mind and behavior, business, and that's why I am an industrial organizational psychologist. So here we have here. I'm saying that all the things that I care about um, are very difficult to pick just one aspect. So I'm on here sharing a few things with you all. So, in every genre of psychology, the commonality is emotion. And in computer technology and the field of business, there are tools used to convey emotion or manifest intellectual expressions. How can anyone truly pick just one aspect of their passion to focus on? Some people prefer to say, stay true to who they are, whomever that person they learn that that person is. Um, Such a person can relate to others who have that same mentality because people's character traits manifest in everything they do as a result of being passionate about all the things in psychology and seeing how various paths connect. I found a topic to focus on which suits those passions in one topic. There are times when a person has contrasting interests, and yet they find the commonality among those different interests, which leads them to discover why they were found on the vastly different things. And from that comes a focus. And my goal is to understand and to manifest the physical product that makes a connection between the why I should and how do I. For example, we have here why people ask questions. And I kind of put all of this stuff together um, from different things that I had. So this is not this is not by any means to say, oh yeah, this is for one particular thing. It's fitting in different aspects, and I want to share it with you because these are some things that I've shared with a couple of PhDs in my field. The beginning of February and throughout time. But it's some things that I put together. So I took a couple of things and I was like, well, let me throw that into the Protest Wednesdays. They're not a formal setting. A formal setting is like something that you would see if I was doing something professionally and getting paid for. This is just YouTube and social media. So I'm really relaxed and I don't want you to take it like I said, this is like lotion. Apply it like lotion. Okay. If you don't rock with that lotion, save it for somebody that might rock with it. All right. So anyway, we're gonna go back over here and look at this PowerPoint slide. Okay, some people ask questions, and when laymen perform tasks, they rarely ask questions. And when they do ask, the focus is guided to a particular question. When the layman asks questions outside of that guided perspective, a redirect ensues. Now you see countless social media platforms that reveal many reasons for for discontent in the workplace, which makes researchers ask new questions. I shared a version of this information with a few PhDs, and it's like you have to bring up why is relevant to today's society. So and a lot of times people are like, well, we see that, but you have to bring it to them and reveal it to them in a way that shows why academia cares. So that's why I've been doing a lot of these things. A lot of people say, well, why don't you talk about homeschooling? Why don't you talk about homeschooling? Because that is a very intricate topic where you really have to get detailed into it. So let's start with this. Okay. So in this study here, using the concepts A produces B, subordinates credibility produces consistent performance in a manner the credible sources dictate. Okay, so that means that if somebody is, for example, your leader, and you're like, well, I give this leader so much credibility, I put them on a pedestal. Anything and everything they say, that's got to be the truth. That's got to be the truth. Someone said to me today that someone said, the book of Proverbs, 101 verses something. And I'm like, wait a minute. The book of Proverbs stops at 31 chapters. So, huh? So, but people, they don't ask questions. And that's what I'm saying here. And that's why the pro tip number one is ask questions. And a lot of the videos that I've shown you over the time, I'm addressing some questions that people have asked and maybe not gotten the direct information or that information right away, information that they can use. So, continuing on, here we can see a probable combination of causes are credibility and fulfillment of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. The probable causality is A, okay, in this equation. Credibility increases, okay, and then P is fulfillment of human hierarchy of needs, which causes B, the effect, the subordinate's followership is the effect that we want to occur. And here we see more information about how that is and why this study brought up this particular topic is because researchers have found causality and the correlation is not because of a cause. So it's like, okay, well, you have this, but it's not linking that that's the reason why this happened. However, that's why I love homeschooling because a lot of that we're not focused on a lot of the different barriers and 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 limitations and the boundaries that bind people to be limited. So you're basically conditioning people to be limited, whereas homeschooling does not do that, and that's why I don't really talk about schooling is because people have to come up to their own conclusions. People have to learn their own way. You have to study and show yourself approved. Like, it's written in the word and it's written in different positive faiths. So I don't want anyone to say, well, oh, you have a bias to a particular thing. No, I have study and research that guides me to say particular things and guides me to observe different things. So I'm not particular to anyone, and that's why I like homeschooling because it's not a particular structure. It's focused on how people learn. Period. And that's what I'm talking about. How people learn. And homeschooling is by far the most effective method of schooling from what I have observed in any study. Look at Freud. And a lot of people don't really talk about the way Freud was learned because it was kind of harsh. It was rather harsh, but voluntary homeschooled people are more effective, and we're still talking about how Freud was his genius affects us even now today. There's different ways to homeschool, and as time changes, more methods of homeschooling emerge to include hybrid schooling where students come, where students, learn from home using traditional methods, traditional boundaries and expectations, and traditional teachers, but that also causes traditional outcomes. Okay, and then homeschooling also has an unschooling method, which is when students learn according to how their interest drives them to learn what method and mode they use. For example, my sons wanted to learn more about school, but it was like, oh, they're homeschooling, and it's not like they're not consistently interested. And a lot of homeschool groups in the co-ops that I'm in had the same problem. And they were like, well, how did you resolve that problem? How did you resolve that problem? Well, it's an unschooling, what they title it. I'm not big on titles. Um, that's why I don't have a bias, because I'm not particular. I'm flexible. Whatever works. So the pro tip number two is whatever works. So one, ask questions. Two, use what works. And what do I mean by what works? So one of my sons wanted a Chinese water dragon, and my husband was deployed in Bahrain for like forever, and the kid wanted a freaking dragon, and I'm like, what? I don't want to touch that. I'm like, what? It eats what? Crickets and mice and what? Now, if you know me, I do not fool with bugs. I'm not trying to fool with anything smaller than a toy dog, okay? And I'm not even trying to fool with they poop, okay? So anyway, I used that, and I was like, okay, we could use this and do so many different things with this one thing. I need my cell phone. Can you get that? And then look, I was like, so I used Chinese water dragons to show different things, like different cultures, and they learned about different cultures. They learned about Buddhism, Taoism. They learned about different faiths, and we used all of the things that was related to the Chinese water dragon. So it was like they drove the interest for the topics. Okay, so the topics fit into what the schools wanted the students to learn at their age. And how do you find that? That's number three. Pro tip number three. Um, you go onto your site in your state and find out what students your child's age needs to know, so that, and there's a curriculum, there's a guide there, and it'll show you what it is that each student, every child, at whatever age range, 5 to 7, need to understand how to do XYZ. Each state is different, so you have to go in and find your own. And I highly recommend, the next pro tip, find a group, a social media group in your area that would allow you to interact with them for free. And it's, some places on Facebook have it, and various other places. So your co-op is actually limitless, because now you get to co-op with whomever is on social media. Okay. And that's more awesome than just staying, restricted to the state that you're in, for many reasons. Because a lot of times, students and family members who are homeschooled, they like to get their learning from being fully immersed into the subject. For example, they'll say, well, the Chinese water dragons, and now we get immersed into this culture. And now, because we're homeschooling, we can relocate to that area and be fully submersed in that area. We can get deployed and be in that area, uh, and learn more, and have a richer in-depth understanding. And we can still have the mobility that the schooling won't be impacted by our travels. So the schools, in each state changes whatever the requirements are. However, homeschooling has ability to school beyond the level of each state, that each state requires, which is awesome, because you don't want to make the child bored, because that causes problems when they're bored in school and bored in their learning. And you get to also have the child to be more advanced, because if that child's understanding is more advanced, you limiting them will cripple them and kind of condition them to be crippled in their learning. So they'll be more guided to do things that may not be um, desirable. For example, they may say, "Well, I already know," and then they'll be frustrated and everything. So don't stifle the children. So you can also use various studies, in the homeschooling projects, to do other things. For example, I use that Chinese water dragon habitat terrarium to show science, English, different cultures, also different languages. So you can use different things in multiple ways. So it's just a matter of you finding what the child likes, what the child is interested in, and doing that. For example, um, one of the kids might like to do the Chinese water dragons, and then everyone was like, "Oh, I love it! I love it! I want one too! I want one too!" So now everyone's deeply involved in it. But if you have one child that's like, "Ah, I don't want to do that," see, with homeschooling, you're spending all your funds on your children specifically. Not that it's bad to share. It's just that a lot of times you find children have um, financial needs, and it's very difficult for you to be able to support that fully when you have children who have multiple interests, and it can get rather costly. So those co-ops and things will be very essential in helping you to find people who are families that have outgrown the different materials that they have and are willing to send whatever they have to you for whatever the shipping costs may be. And you all can trade goods back and forth, which is freaking awesome, okay? Because a lot of times the reason why I like to do that is because people are grateful, whereas some people you'll donate. I've donated to different places, and they're like the gratitude just isn't there. And it's like you don't know what it's going for or who has it, and if the person was forced to pay for it. A lot of times I don't want people to pay for the things that I'm donating, but sometimes they'll take that and they'll make people pay for it in order to receive it. I don't like to do it that way. That's what I mean by I don't know what happened, what came of it. I don't, as long as it's helping someone, that's the thing. But I don't really want anybody to have to pay for it. If I'm donating it, it should be donated. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, another thing that I use are video games. I don't see anybody in the comments. So if you have questions, you got to say it in the comments. If you want to come back later and say it in the comments and then I address it then hit me up. I'm trying to make this really brief. So you're gonna have to forgive me for rushing through it. Okay, so another thing that I found with homeschooling, we always work really hard at trying to get these kids to learn. We're using whiteboards so that we don't have to throw away materials, and we're recycling the materials because it's a whiteboard and markers, and it's easy to do it that way. And we're using storage, fold away chairs and tables and bookcases instead of bookcases, we're using like storage containers, for safety because fires. We have a lot of books. That's why I say I can't go through all the books that we have because there's so many, and I don't want to, think it'll break the bookshelves and it could cause fires because it's too many. So we store them safely in containers and focus on whatever it is that we're doing at the moment. And then when we're going to do something else, we'll go into those storage containers. Hey, well, I remember there's a book, and then grab that out of there. And hand-me-downs, hand-me-downs isn't just exclusive to clothing and things you can wear and toys. It's the books too, okay? So anyway, there's also free links and the group pricing as well that you could take advantage of when you have multiple groups that's homeschooling that you're involved with. So that'll help cut costs, and it'll help give you ideas as well. And the free links sometimes are not always free. So it's a trial period or whatever, and then you have to decide, was it good enough for the price that they're asking? And that's always the question you want to ask. So another thing that can help keep the kids involved, and this is the most important one. So you guys listen, this one's for the kids. I know they're gonna look at this because they're like, "Oh, you try to sneak one in on us and do it late at night." So look, so the final one I want to give, the pro tip number one, really is really the most essential number one, because we work so hard all the time, and a lot of times I've seen people get disheartened because even teachers is licensed, and homeschoolers that teach, they're not licensed to teach, but they're teaching because they love the child, they love the subject, they love, it's for the love of everything. And they get hurt because the child loses interest, and then they too begin to lose interest. You have to remember, you work really hard. I mean, really, really hard blood, sweat, and tears, you have to play just that hard. You have to play just that hard. So what I suggest is, finding the um, value in video games. Yeah, I said it. Video games are invaluable assets. They help with teamwork, family cohesion, to play as hard as you work. And so kids can enjoy mature games under your supervision, learning in a holistic effort. If you take the fun out of things or fail to emphasize balance, relaxation, and work, you can lose interest, and so will the child. So you have to, get involved with some of these video games. And them kids gonna play the video games anyway. Those video games have mature ratings a lot of times. And you're like, I know you're sneaking and playing those games, but don't don't have it to be limited where they're bounded by whatever this this label is. That's why you have to be more involved with your children so that they can do these things that they're going to do anyway in a more mature way, which means that you can trust that even though they're doing some things that you may not approve of, they're doing it in a mature way so that it's not hurting them. And then they have to relearn how not to be hurt for what they've done. Okay, so that's all the pro tips for today. I'm not going to be very long winded with it because we have Mondays, we have Thursdays, and we have other times to come on. So I want you to take these pro tips, think about them, sleep on it, and yes, there are more slides to this here slideshow that I have today. But we're going to take it slow and give it to you a little bit at a time so you can digest it. And I'll help you to understand what studies you can look at that will support all the things that I'm saying so that you'll be like, why did you say that? Why did you say that? And you don't have to ask that all the time because sometimes that's what people are doing. They say, well, why did you say that? Why did you say that? Well, what made you think that? And what led you to this idea? This is why I have shows on Mondays where I'm showing you the various things. And I'm just give you a sneak preview here of what we have so you can see some different things and you can look at these various slides and take you can pause, read it, and we'll go over it again later so you can understand what these things are, and you can look up some of these things so that you can see and be ready for yourself on Mondays and Thursdays when my husband is on, and you could come on and say, hey, I saw this, I read that, and yeah, I have this to say about that. So I don't want you to say that, we're just saying these things and you're not ready to actually interact with them. And that's why I want to come on pro tips. Wednesdays to give you a couple of pro tips, throw it out there so you could come back and be ready for Monday. All right. So I'll see you then. All right. Have a good